cooperate, communicate, ask questions. It's gonna be live, and we'll have more people and knowledge. How many of us have done CPR before? You have? No? You have? No. Okay, that's your first time. No, you've done it before. So we have new people here. That being said, you will be the one to help me right now, and she has CPR too.
Okay.
What do you remember about CPR?
Well, I remember the chest compressions, the ratio for the chest compressions and the breaths.
Okay. Before we get there, what is CPR? Do you still remember the word?
Yes, coronary pulmonary resuscitation.
Excellent. And we understand the word CPR. Cardio, your heart. Pulmonary is your lungs. And resuscitation is bringing it back to life. When we say the cardio and the lungs are dead, we're doing CPR to bring it back. That being said, oxygen that is supposed to go into the heart is not going in. And the one that is deoxygenated that's supposed to go out is also not going out. Then we know this person is unresponsive, right? Okay. When you identify a patient being unresponsive, what comes to your mind? Did you go to life class?
Yes.
Okay. When we identify a patient like these ones on the floor, what is the first thing that rings in your mind?
So when you walk up and you ask them, "Are you okay?" You know, and you listen for the breath, and then you feel for the pulse.
Okay, good. Are we getting it? She said when we go to the patient, like they're staying on the floor right now, and they want to identify if they are very unresponsive or they are responsive. First of all, you want to check by calling their names, if you know their names. And if you don't, if it's a male, you can say sir. If it's a female, we say ma'am. Are you okay, right? If that is being said and they are not responding to you, you want to assess them for pulse and respiratory. And before we do that, right, we want to be able to know that we can do it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Not because you saw someone on the floor and you jump into it. You must have awareness, and this is the reason why we're doing this workshop today. People used to think it's only healthcare providers that are supposed to have CPR, but those days are gone. These days, we want to change our mindset. We want people to know that CPR is for everybody, young and old. People are dying. Old people are no longer the ones who are expecting to die now. I had an 8-year-old child who died because nobody administered CPR on him. And you see people in the family, there's no nurse, there's no doctor in the family, people are dying in the restroom taking showers. Some of them are watching TVs, but cardiac arrest happens anytime to anybody, irrespective of who you are. Healthcare, no healthcare. So that is the most reason why I decided to do community awareness. So that you and I will be well equipped. Knowledge is power, they said. The best thing is for you to know. At least start something, and you have no clue. This is the reason why we are here. So that word CPR is very, very important. When the heart is dead, everything about you is completely out. So we must know where, location of the compression, where to assess, when to assess, how many minutes to assess, what it takes to revive life. When you see a patient on the floor and you're wasting time looking for help by running around, you're killing from the time you set your eyes on an individual to make sure you do something about it. And I'm glad you have a clue. So right now, do you remember how many minutes you're supposed to do your breathing?
I think I think it's for 2 minutes. When you from the time you do the first breath.
You can't be 2 minutes. You know why? Because the assessment will have 5 rights of assessment. Okay? The assessment you're doing, the 5 rights, you have only 2 minutes. So in that 5 rights, you're going to divide them in between the 2 minutes, right?
Okay.
Your pause, you have only 10 seconds. Okay? For the pause, if you have a pen, take notes, because these are very important. Do you have a paper to write?
No, I don't.
Okay. Let's see.
I can't hear you.
Okay, she can give you something. Take little notes that will give you a flashback And don't just listen and keep it to yourself. When you go home,
Yes, please.
talk about CPR with your family.
Thank you.
Discuss it with the kids. Any child above 7 years should be able to have the knowledge of CPR. We have 2 minutes to revive life from the time you set your eyes on the individual. 2 minutes is all you have. No more than that. And the danger is, you seeing this patient might not be the right time the patient went on the floor. Probably they are there 10-15 minutes before you even arrive. So the chances is that we must do something. And I call it life-threatening moment. There's no time for you to run around. There's no time to look for James and John to help you. You have to do something. The danger is, what if you don't know what to do? That's the awareness. When I was in Kingwood teaching a class, there's a lady that lost the mom because she didn't know how to do CPR. Instead, she left the mom in the bathroom and ran to the neighborhood to call for help. By the time she get back, the mom was dead. Not even thinking of 911. Panic attack. She didn't know what to do. But once you have awareness, at least what comes to your mind is do something. And your mouth, I tell people, is the 911. You must open your mouth to yell as much as you can. If you have a cell phone, thank God, these days even kids, everybody have access to cell phone. Push your cell phone on speaker as you're calling 911. Don't keep your phone on your ear. Oh, my mom is not bleeding. What do I do? No, put it on speaker and start working on your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, co-worker, whoever it is, right? Okay. Do you remember the location of the pulse for adults?
Yes. Is it the carotid pulse?
The carotid pulse. The location. We need to take note of the pulse. You don't want to go to the break here. You don't want to go anywhere. If people pulse and checking for pulse, that's waste of time for adults. We want it to be on the carotid. Okay? By the ear side. Let me see the location. Show me the carotid for your ear. There we go. And press in. Right? Okay. Press in. We check the pulse on the carotid pulse for adults. This is the location. 10 seconds. We'll scan for breathing. In medical term, we'll call it scanning for breathing. People say check the respiratory, but we'll call it scanning for breathing. And you do that by using your hand, going up and down on their face. In the olden days, when you see someone on the floor, they want you to listen to the breath. I don't know how possible that would be, so it's ruled out. American Heart Association wants you to scan close. Most people, when you close your mouth and sleep, you see air coming out of your nose. That's how we want to scan. The air is very visible. It's not something that will go fancy. You can feel it. Even right now, you close your mouth. As you breathe, you feel your own air, right? That's scanning for breathing. We scan for breathing. Every assessment we have will give 10 minutes because 10 seconds because the next minute you have to compress. And that's why the action starts. Any questions so far? If you have questions, you ask. In the condition, let's say for instance,
Please, can we? You
Yes,
said
ma'am.
for don't check pulse. What is that place called?
carotid.
Carotid.
Carotid pulse. That's for adults. When we're done with the adults, then we treat the infants. So we don't mix them together. You check for pulse. When the pulse is absent, you don't get no pulse, it's 0. The breathing is 0, right? And the responsiveness of the patient is also 0. You're calling their names and they're not talking to you. Totally, you have confirmed that this patient needs CPR, right? Okay, let's say the other way around. You go to the patient, you shake the patient, Mr. John, Or Miss Mary, can you hear me? Somebody help, can you hear me? They are not hearing you, they are not moving. But when you scan for breath, you feel that they are breathing, right? You check the pulse is fainting, you can't feel the pulse. What will be your action? Somebody can take a guess. One of the assessments is positive, others are negative. What would be your
You
action?
still tell someone to call 911 and you start the heart compressions.
Did we hear what she said? Anybody have another clue, another answer? Welcome. Any other answer? Let's say the 3 assessments that is our major, one of them is absent, but the other 2 is present.
You're not gonna do CPR.
Bingo. If I have African style and I say, let's clap for her, you will not do CPR. That is excellent. I want you to get that, okay?
I thought you said that they was breathing, but there was no heart rate. Yes, I thought that's what you said.
No, when we say no heart rate, I want you to get it. Heart rate is not there, right? But there's breathing, right? Responsiveness, they are not talking to you, right? 2 is not there. 1 is present, which is the heart rate,
Can I
right?
get your email
I
address?
ask you, what will you do? What will be
Okay,
your
I
action?
misunderstood the question. Okay,
You got it?
yes.
Okay. So what we're saying and the language we want people to understand and carry along, when these 3 things are all absent, when there's 0, that's the only time you can compress. If 1 is not present, you cannot touch the patient. That means something is right with the patient. Probably they bump their head and they fainted, which does happen sometimes. You know, you're running and then you hit your head, or you're fighting with someone and they bump you really hard. Some people pass out. Doesn't mean that they're dead or they're unresponsive. It's just temporary. They will come back. Okay. In that incident, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry, we started a few minutes before you got here. The time was supposed to be at 10, so we started like 10 past 10. But I will take you briefly back so you can follow us. We're talking about assessment of unresponsive patient. Okay? Things we have to do to confirm that we have to give CPR. And first thing we want to do is to make sure we check responsiveness. You have to call the patient name. If you do, know the patient name. If not, use sir or Mr. Sir, Mr., ma'am, are you okay? And you see they are not responding to you. We want you to check for the pulse and the heart rate, which is the pulse, the breathing, the scanning, all that. Check all your assessment before you start anything. Now, that brought us to the point. If one of those assessments is not there, what is your action? So that's why we have. If one of them is not there, the other 2 is present, 1 is absent. Do not compress. If that means they are not completely unresponsive. We want them to be completely unresponsive before we compress. And I'm gonna make sure you guys get it because last month, American Heart Association updated some few information and we'll have to see the difference. What I'm teaching you right now was in May, it ended in May. Then I will bring you to what is correct right now. We said we must not compress if 1 is present and 2 is present. Something has to be absent, the other 2 present, we will not compress. But right now, American Heart Association, because we're having too much heart attack, it's rampant everywhere, and most nurses and most healthcare services or CPR carriers will go through the assessment, wasting more time, and people are dying. So American Heart Association have decided that, you know what, I would rather break your ribs and save you than waste time doing thorough assessment. Am I making sense? So this comment now is what we're going to carry out today. What I just discussed with you is as of May. This June and upwards until they change it. They are saying don't waste your time scanning for breathing, checking for pulse and all that. Well, once you meet someone who is unresponsive on the floor, because you and I didn't know how they get there, they say do not waste your time. Check for unresponsiveness, right? By tapping them. And do not tap them like, hey, are you okay? We want you to tap hard to the left-hand side. That is where the heart is located. We want you to tap them hard to the left-hand side. At least within 10, 15, 20 seconds. Mr. John, are you okay? Why are we doing that if the heart is not dead? When once you tap an individual hard 2, 3 times, definitely they will wake up. We don't want to go through assessment and all that. They say continue compression right away. If they could not respond when you're tapping them, go ahead and do compression. Why are they doing that? Because the earlier we start pushing some oxygen to the heart, the better for us. Statistics have shown that the process we were doing before till May of this year had good results, but it's not as fast as the process that is happening right now. Most people will break their ribs and all that, but they end up surviving. So that statistics have proven that it's better to go ahead and compress than doing all assessment. Any question?
So if two of the response is not there, you can press. If one is okay.
Yes, she got it.
Limited to 3.
Do you understand that question? First of all, in May and backwards, right? I said if one is not there, do not touch the patient because we want to make sure
All 3
that
are
we're not
absent.
killing them. Okay? But now they're saying, don't worry about one not being present. Go ahead and start pushing the heart so that the oxygen can be moving, the blood can be circulating. It's better for us to start it and then can surgically rescue this patient than wasting time doing assessment and the time space that we have will lapse. And guess what? We'll lose the patient. So they change the law. And the law is just current. That is what we want to deal with right now. In case if you work out, don't do so much assessment, go ahead, do the first one. Are you okay? You can't hear the 3, 4 times, compress them. Are we clear on that? Any question? No question? Okay. Then the compression. We used to do 100 compression before by yourself. They want you to compress that heart 100 times, non-stop, by yourself before you give 2 breaths. That was May and backwards. Right now they said we should do 60. Because the more you're doing compression, you also want to assess and reevaluate. As you're doing it to 60, you give 2 breaths. Because we want to give more life. Don't do 100. Most times when we do 100, we are going to practice, you get weak. Because it's not easy. Even 30, you can't even survive it when it's crisis. So now they change from 100, they say do 60, you're safe to do 60 and give 2 breaths. Before it used to be 100, 2 breaths. But right now you're safe to do 60, 2 breaths, 60, 2 breaths by yourself, right? One rescue, one individual doing it. If it's 2 people, instead of doing 60, the other person will give breaths, go back 60, they say cut it into 2, 32, 32. Any questions so far? Are we getting it? So that's what they expect of us. And we want to talk about the depth. How far can I go in the heart for an adult? The depth of the compression. For an adult, based on the size, because everybody is not the same size, you know. People like me probably have so much fat compared to her, you know. So if you are going to my heart, you know you have to work a little bit harder. So we want you to go 2 inches.
Into the heart.
2 inches in depth for an adult, based on sizing. But don't go anything above 4. It doesn't matter how big or how small the person is, don't go above 4. For people that are skinny, I mean, there are people who are naturally skinny, you can see their bones, but they're adults. You don't want to go into 2, 3, 4, you will kill them and break all the bones. So you go like 1.75 to 2 max. Any question?
This
You said-
person go what?
Hmm?
If
If a skinny person, you go 1.75 to 2. Are we there? Okay. All right. Why are we doing this? We that are in healthcare, we can look at people and evaluate, you know. But most people that are not in healthcare, this is why we do community first, so that we all can be comfortable and know what to do. That being said, if you are doing that, you want to check what you're doing. You want to evaluate what are we doing. You can't just go on and compress and you don't know how to evaluate. When you do that, you compress, you give 2 breaths. I want you to check the rising and falling of the chest. The rising and falling of the chest. Because we want to know if what we're doing is effective. Rising and falling of the chest. Sir, do you need a paper to write?
Yeah.
This,
No. Now we want you to assess and evaluate the rising and falling of the chest, so you make sure what you're doing is right. And we hope that as we are doing this compression, by the grace of God, somehow 911 will meet you and help you out, or firefighter, somebody, or someone else will join you who is also aware of CPR. But in the case that nobody comes in for some minutes, you can never break the cycle of that compression. Never. It doesn't matter how tired you are. You must continue to compress and give breath. And then evaluate. The patient's life is depending on you. Oh, I'm tired. Let me take some breath. Oh my goodness, by myself, there's no excuse like that. Why are we saying that? American Heart Association is stressing on it that if you have no clue what you're doing, don't get started. You know how they tell us that Good Samaritan law will cover you? It's not going to cover somebody who is not aware of what they're doing. If you don't know it, you're not started. And I believe that as long as we are in the class and you go to the seminars, you know, you learn, knowledge is power, you practice, it will sink in. And when it sinks in, nobody takes the knowledge out of you. You'll be bold and able to do what you're supposed to do. Because it could be you and I that will need the help. My son needed it, nobody was there, he died. And that's why I'm taking it to communities to make sure I take kids, even in their schools, I go in and teach, at least awareness, let them be comfortable. So if that happens, you must continue to compress. Give breath, evaluate, until you get help. If you break it, probably someone who runs their mouth is around watching. They will tell the police, oh, she nearly died, she was tired and she sat down to rest. They didn't invite them to say stop, but they will say it. You can get arrested for stopping it. If that individual died, it's on you because she started something that you could not finish. Right? CPR is very important, and I take it personal because I tell people you must practice. I do online classes, but I don't issue my card online. I don't care how much you think you know it, you have to come and do it. Because when I touch you as individual, it's different, it's sink in. So this is the best way to learn how to do CPR or do anything. You must make your time to practice and get acquainted to what you're doing. So we want you to continue doing it. When you get help now, most of us that are teaching the class will always go with our equipment in the car in case if we see accident or something on the street. So if I see you, maybe police is not there and I have my equipment. When once I bring this bus, it's called AED. AED bus, write that down. Because they just added that as a certification. You can even have certification for this only. But I teach all of them together. And once I bring my AED, you must continue doing what you're doing until I attach all my equipment to the individual. Then the AED will take it from there. Your job is done, meaning I will take over from you as a healthcare provider, right? But before then, our patient is in your hand. Any question?
Does it matter who comes in to help?
No, it doesn't matter. What matters is who comes in to help, are they aware of what they are doing, which is what we're doing today. If someone who have never been to CPR class have no clue, comes to help you, it's more dangerous because they don't have awareness.
No.
That is why we're teaching you. That's the awareness that we're doing. Because if you know you're not comfortable, right? You don't want to do what you can not do. That's what I tell people. But the funnest part of it, as long as you take my card today, right? I am attached to that card because my ID is on it and your name is on it. So if police stops you, probably you see 911, ma'am, thank you for helping us. They take over, you know, they come in crew, a lot of people. They took over, how you do? Thank you so much for helping this patient. Can I have your ID? Do you have your CPR? They're asking you that because they want to need to know what you're doing while you touch the patient. They're not doing you no good. They just want to know. And if they ask that, and you're such, oh, my card is at home. Hello? Your card is at home. The patient survived is good for the patient. What if the patient died? That law will not cover you. And police cannot do anything about it but to follow the law. You understand? So if you have your card and they put your CPR card, they go to their card, guess what? They're going to plug my number in their system. And they will know exactly who instructed this class on you. If anything is wrong, sometimes they will interrogate you and start asking you, how did you know that you need to give CPR? They want you to explain to them. And you say, oh, I just saw him on the phone. And then I started compressing. They're like, what? I'm coming to this story because it's real life. I tell people, don't think any information about CPR is a joke. Take it as serious as you can. I will give you guys another example. At Betech, I'm sorry to mention the school name while I was teaching there, an incident happened in the school where a student was scared. Somebody is having seizure. She didn't know the difference because they've not done the class. She started compressing. Something bad came out of it. A seizure patient is totally something different from CPR. But guess what? If not the grace of God, she would have gone in for it. That's why it's very important. You must learn how to assess a patient. And the healthcare will must be able to do thorough assessment. You know what I'm talking about, right? As a nurse, you must learn how to assess your patient before you do anything. It doesn't matter if you know how to start an IV, you must assess your patient. You must check the blood pressure where it was before the IV is started. You must check their pulse and all that. Vital signs have to be completed. You will double check the name on the IV and the patient to make sure. You will check everything. If you need to do lab work, those things have to be done. Paper has to be ready before you start IV. That is how it is here. This is nursing away from certification of nursing. Knowing this, with the certificate, you should be able to say, I can do CPR. So that patient actually died. In real life, the whole policing, the whole city just came out, it was too much. But thank God our head was out of it. That is the reason we have to know. We must know. I tell people, tell your children, don't think your child of 8 years cannot help you. You'll be surprised. As long as they know, a child can start compressing the mom and be yelling. Your life will be saved. So don't take it as adult issue. Tell your church members, tell whoever you have to tell, CPR is very important. And doing it right is the most important thing. You cannot be a good Samaritan for lack of knowledge. Good Samaritans are those who have knowledge, acquire knowledge, seek for knowledge, and stand for it. Those are the good Samaritans. Like if I stop on accident and start doing CPR and the patient dies, nobody can put me in jail or anything because I will know what to do from step one to the end, and I will tell the police how many minutes it takes me to call them, how long they responded, what was exchanged between me and them, because they're recorders. As you're calling them, they're recording. And they'll be asking, how many compression are you giving? They're recording you. So you should be able to stand for what you know, right? Any question? Are we getting it? Okay. And now we are going to do little practice. If you need to drink water, drink it, because it's real. I don't issue my card without you doing it. Then we'll do the infants. We'll go into seizure. We're going to talk about seizure. We'll talk about aspiration. choking and all that falls, and the infection control. Then we can go there. So let's get up and do some practical work.
What do you call the equipment?
AED.
ADD.
AED.
And what is the full name?
Abbreviation for arterial defibrillation. You know how you defibrillate the heart? Yeah, the machine is the one that is going to do it. We are going to practice and you see what the machine can do for us. Come on, if you're ready. You need water?
You're gonna need it.
You're going to need it. You need to drink water, drink water. Okay, you stay on that adult, okay? Both of you will work together. Two other people. Come on, sir.
I think I'll do that.
You have to. You all will work on this baby here. Okay. Come on. Okay, walk on that. Since I love you, you come on and walk with you. Okay? 2 in 1. Okay? Come this way, sir. You don't know what to do. So we'll take each other step by step so we can correct each other and learn from each other. You'll be here from the beginning of the class, right? Let's do assessment on the patient. I know it's not really patient, but from the patient. We're going to do action, okay? When you see a patient on the floor, right? I need you to stand up. You're not just going to go. This is emergency, life-threatening. When I say life is in danger, right? We don't do it like, Mr. John. Am I making sense? Okay, you see, let's say you see me on the floor right now. You're just coming into church and you see me lying on the floor. And you're not praying Holy Ghost prayer right now. Something is wrong, right? Then you have to
Can we do with example with human being? Can I lie down?
You cannot touch human beings. If you do that, it's against the law. That's why we have
Okay.
managers.
Yeah.
Because you're alive. If I compress you, you're going to die.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because you're breathing, everything is going well. I will back your blood. So that's why they don't want us to practice with humans. Okay? So this is Mr. John. You're going to Mr. John, are you okay? Can I help you, Mr. John? Are you somebody help? If you have your phone, you put your phone, right? You push 911. Put it on speaker. Mr. John, are you okay? Oh, he's not talking. Somebody help. You want to tint and scan. Right? And then you want to change the character part. You have 10 seconds. That's what you want to do. But right now, they say because you don't know how he got here, and you don't know what is going on, how long he has been, you can't be wasting the 2 minutes going back and forward. When once you see Mr. John on the floor, Mr. John, are you okay? Can you hear me? Mr. John, I'm here to help you. Somebody help me. Call 911. You dial your phone. Mr. John, please, can you hear me? Oh my God, he's not breathing. You see that? That's what they want us to be doing. Before I was going to scan, do this character check, they say no. Those things are wasting our time. So let's go ahead and compress, because if you're hitting me that hard and I can't move, something is definitely wrong, right? Then we'll have to go ahead and compress. And the location of the compress, you check your breast, come down, right here, breast tone, and we'll call it the sternum. That's why we want to keep our hand. You see the hip of your hand, you put it in between the breast, right? You lock this one up. You see how my leg is right now?
Yeah.
You don't want to do this. You see my leg is open? You don't ever want to do this, because if it's on a flat floor, your leg will be going wider and you can break your hip. So they want you to put your 2 legs together.
Okay.
Right? Adjust yourself. Your body alignment is very important for you to be safe doing CPR. You want to align yourself, right? And you go this way. The pressure should come from the shoulder, not from the waist. Some people have broken their waist doing CPR because their leg keeps spreading. And before you know it, you hurt yourself. So control these 2 legs, and the pressure comes on your upper side. You go this way and stay straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 37, 38, 39, 41, 42, 43, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. Then you tint the head, you give 2 bread, okay? All right? Okay, don't kiss the mat now. So go ahead.
It's not easy.
Okay. Oh, we're not all doing this. I'm doing it
No,
myself.
you're doing it. I just did mine,
Okay.
right?
Mr. Johnson. Oh my God, we're here to help you. We're here to help you.
Tap his shoulder.
You have to tap it real hard.
911.
Tap this shoulder. No, I don't want to tap it. And then tap
Like really hit it hard.
All right? Yeah. It's better for me to break his shoulder and say,
Okay. Mr. John, you will hear something.
tap his shoulder. Are you okay?
Are you okay?
Tap one more time. Are you okay?
Are you okay?
Okay, now start compression because we have ruled out all assessments. We want you to start compressing.
Okay.
That's not what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
There we go. And stay close to your patient, okay? Align your shoulder. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so you have to be very You're sweating. You have to be very Yeah.
It's not easy, huh?
Normally we don't kiss the mouth of individuals.
So what do you do? Is it the nose?
And the mouth.
This is the
You
mouthpiece,
pinch the nose,
okay?
put it back here in the mouth.
This mouthpiece is what we use. Most times you might not have it because you're not a healthcare provider and you're not an instructor, right? That's why they say you should use your mouth. What you want to do, put your mouth, your hand this way, so that you don't put your mouth to mouth. So we used to do mouth to mouth.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
They're like, that's too much. Put your hand this way on their mouth and blow. And blow as hard as you can, okay? And then you assess. But because this is available, you see where it is, right? The cut of the nose. You want to put this. See that? You see the nose is in, the mouth is covered, right? And then you can blow from here and go to them twice, and you take it off, okay? But we don't want to put our mouth because other people use it to practice. Okay, everybody get on and let's do it. Well done.
What he said? He can.
Mr. John. Mr. John, are you okay?
Hold on now. You see what I'm talking about?
She did call for help.
Yeah, she did?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, stop right there, right? If Mr. John is actually lying down, are you going to stand on him?
By the side.
Okay, because while you're saying
His rest of his body is over there.
yeah, so this has to be this way. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. John, are you okay? Are you okay? Somebody help! Somebody help! Are you okay, Mr. John?
Yeah. Go faster.
Faster.
There we go. Okay. You have your mouthpiece, use your mouthpiece. Yeah? I thought it's use your mouthpiece, cover the nose, and then take up. You blow through here. Don't blow direct. There we go. 2. And then you continue compression, right? Excellent. You go.
Yay!
How do you feel? You feel the pressure, right? This pressure is fake pressure, right? Imagine if it's real. God forbid if it's your mom. You know you have to go with fire and you can't stop. Do you understand? That is the spirit we want. We don't want people to take CPR as a joke. It's life-saving and it's an emergency. When we say in health something is life-threatening, it means if I don't do it, he's gonna die. So the pressure will be 10 times more than what you just did. So let's go.
Sir, are you okay? Are you okay? Somebody help! Get out my phone, 911.
You're too far away.
Oh, I am?
Your back is gonna hurt. Yeah, you have to be as close as possible.
Wait, how do I do the hand thing?
Okay. Your hand, right? Use the right hand to make it here and then lock this one, right? Okay.
60.
See what is happening?
You see? She's moving.
You see the hair?
Mm-hmm.
You see her leg? That's not as far as her heart.
Yeah.
Oh, my leg was too
Your
wide.
leg is moving.
You
And
see?
the patient is far away from you. Stuff like that in real life is not good for your heart. Okay? You want to be close. If this is the human being, you want to use this to be close to the human being as much as you can. Touching the patient. That's it.
Like here?
Yes. And then you control your back. Make sure you don't walk with your back. Okay? This back should be there. Use the shoulder. Only go down there with your shoulder. That's it. Make sure this place is not moving. You control this side. Okay? There we go. Do 15 now because you've done before. This will not bring somebody back to life.
Harder.
Yes, because it's in life.
And then up.
Yeah.
Use
You put your
hand,
mouth
this
in.
way you used to eat. Yes, there we go. There we go. How do you feel? How is your heart rate? How is your body? How do you feel?
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm right.
And it's funny because we're doing it as practical, right? Imagine if it's real life. I want it
It's
to
very
sink in.
intense.
It's very intense. And all you need to think while you're doing CPR is me.
What if it was you?
That's what I think when I teach the class. I'm looking back like I'm the one lying there. And that will tell you to save life as easy as possible. Who wants to go? She's dodging it to share.
Hey, Mr. John, are you okay? Somebody help, Mr. John. Mr. John.
Yep, there we go.
Oh, good.
You're too far. Go closer to your patient. Yeah. There we go. That's it. Go faster.
You're basically motion match her beats.
Yeah, so as you're pumping, you're moving the blood. Okay, sir. Come on. You can do 15, but you have to practice. No, okay, 5 or 10. It's good to lay hand on the training. It feels different. You don't have to do all the 60. Just do like up to 10. At least do your assessment and be comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah. Do your assessment at least.
Mr. Joe, are you okay? Mr. Joe, are you okay?
Somebody help.
Somebody help.
Push now over.
911.
Okay. Let's just forgive him. That's fine. That's fine, sir. We appreciate you. That's okay. That's okay. Sis, get on board.
Mr. John, are you okay? Are you okay? Somebody help! 911.
No, she said no. That's what I was. See what I'm talking about? Look at her leg. Wrong position, sis.
Stop, just stop.
Nurses in heaven, some of them have never done practice. Don't get me wrong. They just go online and get their license. But when these things happen, like when I used to work in the hospital or nursing home, you see the nurses, hey, I'm not gonna be the one to, they're scared because they've not I'm waiting for you, man.
Mr. John, someone call 911. And I do the
Are you gonna be in North Dallas to compress Mr. Jones? Yes, bring Mr. Jones closer to you.
Someone call 911.
Okay. Okay, no. Yes, there we go. And make sure you don't work with the fingers, okay? It's the hip. Yeah. There's that. Stop this in between these ones. There we go. And then go this way. Okay? Because if you do this, you won't go in. So you put your hand this way. There we go. Give us fire. How many did she do?
10. 10.
2 to 1 person, right? 2 people will rescue 1.
Okay, yeah, so it's less compressions now.
Yeah, it's less compression.
30 compressions.
Okay? So we're gonna do 30. The other person will be the one to give bread. That's how we do it. Okay? But once you call for help, your help is on the way. She will be the one to come with that bread.
Stand ahead, or how does she stand?
Yeah, she's gonna
Side by
position
side.
herself here. Good question. She's gonna position herself here. So that when once she compresses, you're getting yourself ready to position it. When she finishes, you put this in the tint. Then she continues. If she's tired, you will say, this is where 2 people are.
Is that how we switch?
Yeah, that's how you switch. You can't switch with each other. If you're on this side now, right? I'm here. I have to move this way. You come here.
Okay, so clockwise.
Clockwise. We can't. If I'm going
Sorry.
this way, I will be blocking you. So I have to go this way.
And it has to be fast. The rotation has to be fast.
Yeah, first
In
5.
life, it has to be like what we just did, but the only thing compression is less.
Okay.
So you can have.
Yeah, it's that this will do 30. You do 30.
Yeah. That's for adults. So we'll talk about this. Who's going first?
Our group. So are you going now? Am I calling for help or you coming?
Who's going first? Let's go.
Okay. Mr. John, are you okay? Are you okay? Help! Mr. John, are you okay?
There we go.
Switch,
See that?
quickly,
The
quickly,
switch is
quickly.
supposed to be fast.
Fast,
There we go.
30. You gotta do 30.
So you don't touch your fingers. Some people can compress that, but we recommend.
Hey. Yes.
Let's go. Let's go.
Sir, are you okay? Are you okay? Help! 911.
I love her speech. Do you see that? I love the speed that she's giving. I love that speed. There we go.
2 breaths.
Give 2 breaths, Mama.
Fast.
Take the head and give 2 breaths.
Oh, 2 breaths.
Bend down.
Then you move this way.
Move yourself.
Fast.
You can't be wasting time. Go. Okay, that's enough. 2 breaths. Yes. I will skip both of you because you're going to start with the
Infants.
Okay. All right. Any questions so far?
How do you know when you have press 2 inches down? Because you say between 2 and
It's
4.
imaginary. You should know the depth you're going because we cannot measure it by physical eyes. You understand? But you have to put pressure. Like we told her that she's going in. You can feel it that she's really going in. When you all are doing it, you can feel that yes, it's hitting somewhere.
Yeah.
That's in our brain. There's no other way we can.
Where exactly was the hand be? Is it on the chest here?
Breast tone.
Under here?
In the middle.
You see, no, you see my breast? Underneath now. This tendon right there. Yes, right here. That's it.
So which we see?
It's here. See it? In the middle.
Oh,
Under
okay.
the 2 breasts.
Okay, here. I thought it's okay.
This is 1 breast. It's right here.
So in between.
Yes.
Okay, in between.
Good question. Any other question?
I was just wondering if it's somebody related and you can't.
It's natural to panic, but when it comes to for you to be in the class, that panic goes off. It's very funny the way you walked. December last year, right before my baby passed, my son and my little baby sleep in the same room. Around 6 a.m. in the morning, my mom was on the floor, very cold like ice. My room is downstairs. My 7-year-old touched her because my children will practice CPR at home. Every time I say compress, the dog compress and then take it as fun. But guess what? What he did, he yelled to his brother, my second son, then the grandma is not breathing. I'm gonna do CPR. Call your mother. You understand? I heard his voice.
Call your
I
mother.
had a friend that came from Dallas. We both our nurses, we jumped. Before we came, Puchu was doing CPR.
Aw.
7-year-old. And I took over. I didn't panic. The second one called 911 because they are used to playing with these toys. I was like, I have to take you to the mall. You buy whatever you want to save your grandma. And it took us almost 15 minutes before 911 came. Thank God my mom started throwing up after that and she felt bad. What if my son was not in that way? And not if that, what if he has never seen
Yeah.
CPR?
What if you didn't know what it
If you
was?
see mommy in the restroom and not breathing, you better start pushing and call 911. I said, that will bring you back to life. I will do that. You have to make them feel it.
Yeah.
He saved my mom, but he passed his own. 6 months
And he
after
needed
that,
CPR,
and
God.
nobody gave him CPR. We had more than 20 adults in the pool. They were all scared. And he died. Do you understand? That's how bad and that's how quick we can save people's lives. In our families, at our place of work, on the road as you're driving. You see accident because you've been in this class. Don't be scared. Come out and help. Your little help will save somebody's life. And that's what we want to do. That's the mission of CPR. Any question? So far? No question. We did good for that. Let's talk ourselves. That was awesome. All right. Now we're going to talk. You can sit down while I talk briefly about these babies. I know everybody's sweating right now. You need to grab something to drink. Please do that.
There's water back there.
There's water to hydrate yourself. How do we feel? Tired? Don't feel tired. That's fine. Exercise for the heart. So let's talk about our babies. When a baby is unresponsive, right? The same assessment goes to the babies because they are human beings. We want to also assess them before we start anything. But our AHA, American Heart Association, said don't be wasting time doing professional assessment when somebody is dying. They want us to start compression when once you know this baby is not breathing, because you can tell babies are easy. Welcome on board. Babies are easy to assess. Most times, if it's a black child, the lips will start going pale, and you can tell. If it's a light-skinned child like me, you can see them going blue easily, right? That's how we do babies. And that is the case. For little children, we want to use 2 fingers. We're going to use 2 fingers. Take notes if you can. For kids, we're using 2 fingers. You want to use 2 fingers for little children. The same location that we did for adults, at the breastbone or the sternum. And you want to go in like 1.5 in depth. Okay, so you have to be these two fingers. Okay, why are we doing that? Because you know their bones are not that matured. If we even do one compression, we will kill someone. The best thing is to use these 2 fingers. Okay? And if we're talking about assessment on this case, you know, we say we'll do the carotid for adults, right? For kids, this place is all flesh. You can't get nothing here. They have pus on their dorsal. We can do that. We can do the brachial pus for this case, right? And sometimes we go to their ground. Yes, you can do this side. Most times that's what I prefer, because right there is the demarcation of the legs. You can go deep, it's easier. Even in the hospital, that's what they use, it's easier. So, but at the same time, like we said, the law has changed. Don't start looking for pus everywhere and wasting time. We want you to start the operation of this child. And you're going to do that by yourself. We want you to do 30 times. If you're the only one there, 30, and then still 2 breaths, right? 30 and 2 breaths. If we are 2 people, it will be 15 and still 2 breaths. Because it's a baby, we can carry baby on our laps, right? Unless the child is from 4 years and up, some of them are heavy children. My baby was 8 years old, he's like 10 years old baby, very chubby and heavy. There's no way you can carry him. he will be on the floor. So it depends on the size of the child, right? If it's babies like babies, we can carry them on our hands and then compress them, right? Okay, so let's practice. Their issue is so fast. Come on. Let's practice. Grab a baby.
It's not enough babies to go around.
Grab a baby. Practice makes perfect. Grab a baby. Let's do one more. You can use your left, you can use your right. 1.5. But that means because it's finger, you should know that you have to do as much in.
Okay, where do you keep the hand? In front of the arm?
If you carry a live baby now, you know how to put the hands, anywhere you think is comfortable. If you want to be on the floor, as long as on
Want to
chairs,
sit down?
what you have to do for the baby. Okay, let's go. You do 30 by yourself, and then 2 breaths. Baby's mouth will can give 2 breaths, but don't kiss the mouth because other people use it. You did it? Yeah. Show me again. Yes. Go in faster. There. You hear the sounds? Okay. Yes. Go in. That's it. Faster. Yeah. Excellent. Everybody has to practice. Practice makes perfect. Go in. Push harder. Right there. Okay. Yes. I want to hear that sound. You scared? No. Come on. Welcome. Sign in here. You did? Oh, that's the one? Yeah. Oh, okay. I know your one. Okay. All right.
She needs to do hers. What is going to escape it?
Okay.
I'll take it.
How do you know if they are all responsive? Like I said, you will see their color change and they will be pale. Some of them will turn blue. It's light skin, kiss this skin, they will turn blue completely. And you can tell. And they're not going to be responsive anymore. Just like the same thing with adults, right? Yeah. You move baby. Baby, are you okay? They're just completely out, right? Okay, make sure you're inviting people on that. Have you been doing that?
No.
Give the baby, you can't be practicing, you need to focus
Yeah.
on the right? Make sure you invite people. Okay, this is our A, E.
How do you invite people live? How do you invite people live? Okay.
Push Hannah. See, the son is teaching Hannah. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about right now. Okay. I want us to attach this AED here. Sir, you asked question about AED?
Yeah.
Okay. This is for an infant. So you're going to attach to the infant. Okay, this is for an adult. You take adult. Those patch, you take off the cover of the patch, right? Attach one on each side of the breast. Yeah, go ahead. Attach one on each side of the breast.
You have to take this off.
You
You have to take.
that.
Yeah.
You see by the side of Fetty.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Just put it right there.
Attach one here, take this one and attach it. And pull this one right there. Attach it well. Yeah. Make sure you please do the same thing on this side. That's the AED. You expect me to have that if I'm on an emergency location or the police, we always have this. We want to make sure this is attached.
Wait, we put one further up and then one lower down?
You said?
Just put it on the breast.
Put it on both of the chest.
You put it on both of the chests,
Okay.
and it comes in with the police or firefighters or instructors like us that have the equipment, right? Okay, where is the cover?
I put it.
Okay. Make sure it's sticking to the chest, right? Okay.
So naturally, this will stick to the
It will stick to the person's skin. Natural, yeah. It will. Are we ready? Okay, I want us to push the green button and leave it on the floor. Don't touch it. Just push the green button. Make sure it's on. Push your green button. Put it on the floor. You can't have it on the floor because it's going to rhythm instead.
Do not touch the
Do
patient.
not touch the patient.
Analyzing heart
You gotta put the baby on the floor. It's gonna shock you.
Do not touch the patient. Charging. Do not touch the patient. Stay clear of
Stay
patient.
clear of the patient.
Shock advised. Deliver shock now. Press the orange button now.
Listen.
Shock delivered. Stay clear of patient. Begin CPR. Press the orange
Begin CPR. You gotta do CPR.
Press the orange button. Yeah. Begin CPR. See that? While you're doing this, that's when the stretcher.
You pick up the baby, yes, but not.
Because the patient gives faster shock. And that patient will say continue because he didn't get the right space. And then as he continues to tell you, leave the patient alone. Stay away from the patient. And then the patient. But once they get the patient, they can kind of stay out of your heart. They will take you from there.
Second time.
I know you're fine.
And then move it back.
Second time.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Just turn it off.
did the first one.
Just turn it off.
Yeah,
no,
that's
leave
it.
Leave it on the floor.
Good job.
Good job. Well done, guys. Turn it off, please. Yep. Turn yours off. You know why you cannot carry a baby on your body when you're doing this? Because the heart rate will be you and the child together. And you can give more dose to the child and kill the child instead. And that's why you tell you to clear from the patient. The baby, you can put the baby on the floor. We just want to save their life.
Okay, instead of holding
You cannot hold anybody or be close to them. Once you attach this, they will tell you, this will tell you to clear. Because it doesn't want to read their heart rate from the child.
because you put out that.
No, it's just practice now. Yeah, I already told you we have to make sure the patient is on the floor. Someone else practice, push the button, and listen to the command.
Okay.
No, go do it. Go ahead.
Just push this button. And you have to kneel down, take off your shoe, be active because both of you need to compress for us. You're going to sweat a little bit.
Closer to the patient. Push the green button. Okay.
Analyzing heart rhythm. Shock delivered. Do not touch the patient. Begin CPR. Deliver shock now. Press the orange. Shock advised. Shock.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Are you getting
Charging. Yes.
Stay clear of patient.
Stay clear.
Deliver shock now.
Press the orange button.
Orange button. Now. Shock delivered. Begin CPR.
Okay, because you don't know what we did.
Yeah.
Get there. It's okay. There we go. Yeah, go ahead. She want to practice. So this is our practical zone. So practice, ask questions.
Can you please turn that off?
You're not
Thank
putting
you.
hands on your baby.
Yes, thank you.
This and that does.
So harsh, you can hear hers.
Oh. Yeah, go ahead. If you want to practice, practice there.
So you do this at daycare.
Charging.
You have to go close to the patient.
Deliver shock now. Shock delivered. Analyzing heart rate. Begin CPR. Do not touch the patient. Analyzing heart rhythm. Shock. Do not touch the patient. Charging. Shock advised. Stay clear of patient. Charging. Deliver shock now. Stay clear. Press the orange button now. Shock. Deliver shock now. Press the orange button now. Shock delivered.
You can stop right there. That was good. Excellent, right? Excellent job. We have practiced that. Yes, your mom did well. Yes, excellent. You feel comfortable doing it in real life. Right? Thank you so much. This is what we do, and this is what we love doing. We have to save lives. My life, your life, everybody's life around the neighborhood, right? Any questions so far before we bring the other two to practice while we talk about something else? Any question for me? They will get the clue at least, and the certification is every 2 years.
Okay, what if artist
Hold on, okay,
once in a while there's accident? What if even if in the process you are doing and the person still give up, what happens?
Yeah, in the process that you're doing it, sometimes it does happen, and the patient give up. That is why we said we don't know how long that patient has been there. Do you understand? Because most times it's always emergency time that you see stuff like that. Probably they've been there for 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Okay,
You
so
do your best.
So is it important that we know the time, exact time that we start touching the patient?
You cannot know exact time because you didn't know exact time when the
Well,
What I mean, before we
Before you-
We said you were not here then.
she's talking about before you start touching the patient, you want to see what time it is.
No,
Is that what you're
can't
saying?
be
You don't have.
checking what
Yeah.
time is this, right? You don't have time. In real life, there is no room for you to be checking your wristwatch. Like, okay, it's not seizure. We will get there right now. Want you to check your time.
Yeah.
But for CPR, there is no law that will tell you, oh, you should have checked how long you started. You're supposed to do this. No, because we didn't know when they started on the floor anyway. So it's not for you. Your only action is to make sure you apply CPR to them as fast as you can. And not just doing that, know exactly what you're doing. That you know how to assess this patient and you know what CPR stands for. And you know what you're doing. That's all. The worst thing is that you're doing CPR and they ask you what is CPR. You're like, it's making the heart work. No, it doesn't make sense. You have to know exactly what is CPR. Your heart is backing up. There is no oxygenated
Oxygenated
blood.
blood.
And the oxygenated blood moving from the heart and outside the heart. And that we want to make sure there is life into this person. Right? And you tell them, I couldn't start assessing by checking the pulse and all that. I checked for responsiveness and this patient was not responsive. I have to start CPR. That's all they want to know. Any more questions?
May I ask a dumb question?
No, there's no
What is
question.
CPR?
Hmm? Somebody answer for me. She just gave it to you. Okay, listen.
Cardiac pulmonary resuscitation.
Okay,
Cardiac pulmonary resuscitation.
okay, let me go.
Right? Amen.
Good job.
Good job, guys. You guys did very well. Awesome job, awesome job, excellent job. Please, sir, help me take off the part and put the part on the plastic one. Right? Okay, that now we're going to take like a minute, take a deep breath, and we'll talk about seizure. Okay? We're going to talk about seizure. Where's the plastic for this baby?
The other one's missing.
You're the plastic.
Yeah.
This that should be somewhere.
It's there.
Thank you, sir. Or you can write your heart, your lungs, and bring it back to life. Another way of saying it.
Your heart, your lungs. Okay, your heart, your lungs, bring it back to life.
Pulmonary is your lungs.
I know. My friend was telling me yesterday, the baby in South Carolina, they got on the bus, that they are daycare bus. They got on the daycare bus and they were going to the center, and then the charger suddenly gets passed out.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, but she eventually didn't make it.
Oh.
Did they do anything like CPR?
I don't know
You
what
see
happened
what
in
I'm
the
talking
bus,
about?
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was
Maybe the weather's too
Especially
hot.
summertime.
Mhm. That's what I'm
A lot of
talking.
things are happening.
So she's texted me last
Yes.
week.
The baby will not make it if you are around that child and you have no clue. The panic attack alone.
I know.
We
I
kill that
think on the
child.
bus, I tell you.
You know, and the squares when we hear things like that, it kills me. That's why I'm doing it for my child, Gigi in heaven, because it's so painful that little children will be there, will have 15, 20 adults and nobody.
Nobody could do
Even
it.
some who knows and have heard about it are scared because they did not come on ground.
Yes, yes.
Your feeling right now after leaving this place is going to be totally different when you leave this home. And that is the impact we want to make. In your churches, invite me. It's a free seminar, except if you need my card, that's the only time you pay. But for free class, tell your pastors, tell your co-workers, I will come out.
That's for sure.
And make it aware. It's very important. We all need it. Don't say, oh, I'm not a nurse. No. This is not about nurses. This is about us. I'm even going to Nigeria to teach it in Port Harcourt by September. Yes.
We were just saying in the villages.
Yes, I'm going home at least for 1 month to teach from village to village and give to my community. And that's what we want to do. All right? So let's talk about seizure. Because in health, most times we mistake seizure, choking, aspiration, CPR, and all those things with one source. And it's danger when we do that. Awareness is power, right? We're going to talk about seizure. How many of us knows about seizure and epilepsy? Back home, that's what we call it. You know about seizure, right? You know back home they say don't go closer to them because their saliva will make you get infected. That's a lie.
If you don't mind, I want to share a short story.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know,
That's why we're here.
when I was in Nigeria, this is actually my university, and I was sitting in a library, and I was sharing a table with this man. I was sitting here, and he was sitting on that end. But I noticed he kept doing this, but I don't know what is wrong with him. But I just knew I was upset at the point. I'm like, can you just let this table be filled? He kept doing that. I'm like, what is wrong with this man? And he kept doing that, and then I looked at him. Then he stopped for a while, but he kept fidgeting. You know, then he grabbed one of his books, and he was walking just like this setting, like that, at the door. We just had a big bang on the floor. Oh my God, and I ran there, I'm like, oh my God, it was a man. So that was what was happening. But I guess he tried to control it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do it
In public.
Yeah, but the thing happened at the door. So
Yeah.
Oh.
so, my God, I picked up my bag, I was like, running.
And you what? You see that?
Because I didn't know, I'm like, then I felt bad again at the time, like, but again, I don't know
What to do?
I just was upset that he was disturbing me. He knows.
You see, that is reality of life. That's how most of us feel in real life. That's what happened. Why? Because she didn't know. And it's better that she didn't know and she didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Like what I said, somebody died out of that. You think everybody on the floor, you do CPR. And it's not the way it works. And the country we're in, they don't play that. They want you to be aware. They believe that before you do anything, you should have a basic knowledge. Not like back home, you get away with stuff. Yes.
Clear away.
Yes. So now, that you have a question to them. Sorry. Go ahead and answer. I'm sorry.
I was just asking about how to do this thing.
Sister Lovett said you came late.
You
So
go
hold
to
on.
the next
Don't worry, I will take you back to that area, okay? When we talk about seizure epilepsy, like we normally know, right? What is coming into our brain? What do you think is happening to the body? Involuntary activities. When you saw something is involuntary, you can't help it. Right? It's involuntary activity of the brain. And they just start happening. Some people will start laughing like, what's going on? You know, like, why are you shaking? But they cannot control it. In this case,
The brain.
the nerves, involuntary of the nerves of the brain. And we'll call it involuntary activities. It happens to people who have epilepsy, you know. Seizure is something we cannot help. Because if you have the diagnosis, if you're not taking your medications and doing what the doctors want you to do, it can embarrass you anywhere, anytime. And when that is happening, you see a patient, there is some assessment, like I always say, there's nothing in health that you cannot assess. And you can't just jump into action without knowing what you're doing. So like she's sitting, you see how she's sitting very quiet? If I am in the hospital or nursing home, and she had diagnosis of seizure, right? Probably she didn't take her medication before she went to bed. She's in the breakfast room now. And you see her sitting very quiet, abnormally quiet. We'll have some quietness that, okay, maybe you're just stressed or something. But when you're abnormally quiet, meaning you're not the same person I know yesterday. You sit down and you're looking at me like, you see, you start doing this, I can tell that something is wrong, right? And that's their sign. We have two kinds of seizures that are very common. The petit seizure and the grand mal seizure. Those are common seizures that we see on a daily basis nursing homes, hospital. In fact, that's more of the seizure that the doctors diagnose him. Okay? And we see it all. The grandma seizure, we cease for real. Petite is fainting, maybe a second, they go this way, and they catch back themselves. But when it's grandma seizure, if they're not taking their medications, they're gonna cease to be on the floor, and sometimes it happens 2-3 minutes, sometimes it happens a minute, it goes longer than normal, right? If you see her, sometimes also the smell of the environment can trigger their seizure. Based on individual, that's why we say check allergies and stuff like that. The smell of my perfume can cause her to seize. I could pass her like, Miss Jones, how are you doing today? The smell, she will start rolling herself. That smell is not good for her. And if you're someone who is in healthcare and you know what to do, you want to bring her down on the floor right away. That's our first goal. Okay? Why? Because we don't want her to be on the chair and bump her head really hard. Then, in that bumping head, she could be unresponsive.
Then she's gonna need CPR.
Okay? Because people do seizure and they administer CPR, but they don't know the difference. So we're going to match them and you can differentiate. Okay? If she is doing that, I see her, my first thing is to go in between her and pull her out of her chair, grab her head, and get her on the floor. Okay, that's the first thing you want to do. You want her to be on the floor, then you take off everything around her for safety purposes. And that's part of the precautions for seizure, right? You want her to be safe, no clusters, no nothing. In case if she hits her head anywhere, she will be on the floor, it's safe than having chairs and bed around, right? When you do that, don't go attending to stop the seizure because you cannot stop it. First of all, we said it's involuntary, right? That means it's not her fault.
Yeah.
And I have nothing to do to stop it than to make sure she is safe because of injuries, right? I don't want her head to bump. I don't want her to break leg or hips or something. That's why I have to rush first of all and get her on the floor. But if she's in her bed and starts seizing, some of them will flip and hit the floor. And when stuff like that happens, some of them will go straight to unresponsiveness. You see that now? She was seizing, then she ended up unresponsive. When you see that she's unresponsive, this is the only time you can do what? CPR.
Can he or she be unresponsive because he hit his head?
That's what we're saying. That's pressure to the brain, and they go unresponsive. That is the only time you can do what? CPR, right? But if she is on the floor, going, having seizure, you don't want to touch her because she's alive, right? She's very active. All we want is to make sure that we time her. This is where the timing comes in now. The first time you set your eyes on her, immediately you want to check your time. That's what the doctors will ask you.
How long did the seizure last?
What was the size? Was she jerking? Was she rolling her eyes? Was the hand flooding? You know, what is going on? Describe for us. Why are they asking you that? The doctor wants to make sure that the medication she's taking is working for her. They want to know, did you check the last time she took her med? You'll be surprised she didn't take it last night. And then the doctor, if she took it in that morning, and then she had that kind of seizure, and it lasted like 2 minutes or 3, the doctor might want to adjust the medication. Probably the dosage is not helping. Or else she's having more dosage, they want to reduce it. That's why they want you to time and describe everything that happened in seizure. Does that make sense? Any question? Okay. And when you see a seizure person, can you come over, please? I'm going to use you as a sample. Yes, sir.
I wanted to find out the difference between epilepsy and seizure, or are they both the same?
It's the same thing, but back home we call it epilepsy. Okay, but here we call it seizure.
Okay, and sometimes I guess the local information is when they're going on food,
Metal.
Chin up. I'm coming there. I know where you're going. So I want to take it step by step. Sorry, baby, can I use this? So that we don't leave anything out, okay? I want you to sit here. Okay? I might not be able to pull you down because you know you're not having seizure and your muscles are intact, but I will try. Okay? When you see that, like now he's the one, roll your eyes for me and do like you're gonna pass out. I know he's having seizure. I want to go like this and pull him. As I'm pulling him, I say, somebody help. I want you to come. Oh, okay? The only place I want you to help me
Is the head.
is the head. Why are we doing
Sorry.
that? You want me to hold it or do you want me to? You have to hold his head. As I'm pulling his hand, make sure you're in control of that head. Don't let the head hit the floor. Okay. Or hit the chair. This leg, we can break it. In saving this patient, nobody cares about the leg and the hand in times of emergency, right? But the doctors want to make sure this head did not touch the floor. Because if it does, internal bleeding can happen. A lot of things will be damaged. So main thing, even by yourself, you can leave holding this side, you go through the head, pull him down, let him hit his hip. Everything can be on the floor, but control the head, right? Sit well. You can't do it, you're very stiff. So that's what we want to do, right? And then when he gets on the floor now, back home, what Sir is saying, they want you to use spoon. Open your mouth for me and put in between the mouth. That is the worst thing you ever want to do. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
There, you're going to give stiffness to the muscles and the arteries of the body. And the arteries can be breaking inside.
Internal bleeding.
Internal bleeding. A lot of things will happen. Because in seizure, we want them to be free. The jacket he's wearing, I'm going to take it off. His shoes, everything that is tight, that will compress, you know, contraction and circulation, we want to take it off. It doesn't matter where we are, if you're in the market, it doesn't matter. We just want to make sure he is free of every restriction. When once you put an object, internally you have damaged a lot. But back home, we don't know.
I need to catch a reaction.
Do you understand? They want you to put an object. We don't ever want to even think about it. The damage that we will have at the end will be more severe than the physical seizure, right? The main thing you want to do is you get him on the floor. Allow him. You can't even hold him. Most times they say, put him on the side. You don't have control. Let him seize. By the time he finishes, he can be forming whatever. He's still alive. He's not going to die because of that. The highest thing will be aspiration. And then we can work on that in just a second. When he finishes, immediately, you can then turn him to the side so that if there's saliva, it will come out. That is the way to save a seizure patient. Don't ever put anything or hold his hand. Back home, they will say, hold the leg.
Hold his hand.
Hold him very tight. And he will be you are destroying a lot. And most people who have epilepsy back home, you see their life is almost useless.
Yes.
Because it's God that is sustaining us. In this place, we don't want all those things. Any question about seizure?
Now that you've said it, I'm just like,
Are you guilty?
no. I'm guilty for that man because all these things you are saying, they say he will break the library, double glass doors. He's gonna break the doors.
Is it the doors they care about?
Yeah, they care about the doors. That's what happened.
Yeah. No, I said even though he was doing all of this, and then holding down.
Yeah.
No, but in the outside, they said that everybody will be running away from the person because it will infect you.
Yeah.
It's not even infectious.
There's nothing like that. In real life, if you have gloves,
lack of knowledge.
you wear your glove as a healthcare provider. But let's say it happened in the church. How many of us have gloves in the church? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You won't be looking for gloves. Your mindset should be to save lives.
Yeah.
I know we want to be sterile, we want to be, you know, infection control intact, but in real life, those things doesn't really matter.
Okay, is any part of that person that is infectious? No.
Nothing. No. Your medication, there's nothing like infection. Lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge.
That's why we have to take this back home and let them know it's lack of knowledge. No question. Yes, sir.
Sometimes they say they beat their tongue when they start shaking.
They will beat their tongue when you put an object. You obstruct them. They can't beat their tongue. Since we've been in nursing, have you seen a patient that beat their tongue? No, it doesn't happen like that.
That's why they said to put something so.
Yeah, it's not acceptable. And things like that do happen here in the States too. Off of 90 going towards Texas children, there's a golden corral around there. I went there to eat one day with another nurse and my mom. On our table we're eating. All of a sudden, I went to get food. I looked at one lady and I'm like, is she okay? I went back and my eyes and attention was on her. So I started watching her instead. It wasn't up to a second, she hit the floor. One lady that walked there, immediately, the lady was having seizure. She brought a knife. Hey, I'm telling you, right in this. Yeah, you know the knife that we used to eat. She put it, she said, hey. I'm like, no. I tried to hold myself. No, I can't hold. I went there. I said, "Ma'am, what are you doing? Can you leave her alone? Move your chairs." You know, I told everybody, "Get up, please. Move your chairs. Take the knife off." No, I have CPR license.
He's talking to a nurse, Will.
I took the knife off. She was arguing with me. The manager came out. She said she's CPR certified. She knows what she did. I said, "Ma'am, I brought my card out." I said, "If you touch her one more time, you're gonna go in for it. Give me your card." She said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "Somebody call police for me." And the manager, I said, "I'm an instructor for CPR. You don't tell me otherwise." She's having seizure. She's not having CPR. And you putting knife in her mouth, you have the God to tell me you have a CPR? I want to check who gave you that license. That's when her body went like, she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to help. I'm a good Samaritan." I said, "No, this have nothing to do with good Samaritan. You guys leave her alone. Somebody call 911. And she seized. It wasn't even a serious seize. Within a minute or less, she came back down. And I told her, "Can you cover her up? Take her to the bathroom, help her." And I called the manager, said, "You need a training in your location. People are going to keep people here." And he was like, "Please don't report it to the police." And the police is like, "Who was the first person that saw what happened?" I said I was the one.
You covered them up.
Yeah, I said I'm the
because
one.
they're supposed to have.
Because she have a card. She watched it on the TV.
Online.
You know, online, they printed it.
Printed
I've
online.
never done the difference between CPR, seizures, and all that. That lady would have been dead, or something else would have happened. So I couldn't hold myself. I have to help, and that's what we want us to do. We should not hold back. Let us help somebody who is in need. Right? Any other questions, sir? Are we enjoying the class?
Yeah.
Just keep going. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that is the issue of seizure. Okay. Another topic that I cover when I teach my CPR. Normally, I charge 50 just for CPR. You want the AED training, we train for 25. Every package is 100, but because it's an open floor, $25 to the foundation of my son, you know, to help Lurie kids for football and all that. That's why I'm doing it. Please tell someone else. That is all. Tell somebody else. Let's make this awareness open. Right? Now we want to talk about choking. Everybody knows about choking, right? When you write choking, cross line and write aspiration on the side. Because that is brother and sister. Choking and aspiration. You got that, right? Anyone knows what is choking?
Obstruction.
Okay. She said when we have an obstruction, right? Okay. That is not enough information. When we say we are choking or somebody is choking, explain to me what is going on.
She said it.
They feel like sometimes they can't breathe. There's something but you can't even see it.
That's a word I'm looking for. When you see someone that is choking, what is your action? What comes into the
It's life-threatening.
Life-threatening.
That's what I want to hear.
Life-threatening.
Just like CPR, I categorize choking and CPR as one.
Life-threatening.
Yes, emergency life-threatening. Okay. We'll have some life-threatening, let's say like COPD, right? We'll have some life-threatening like myocardial infarction, that's in health. Okay, when we say it's life-threatening, people die going through all that, right? But when we add emergency to it, you can see the level.
Yes.
Emergency is wrong, there is danger. Somebody will die within a blink of an eye. Okay, if you see someone choking, what do you think you would expect, or what are you visualizing on this person?
Or they're trying to cough something out and they can't.
Hold that one right there. Okay? Choking, the main thing is that there is no oxygen coming in. There's no oxygen
Going out.
Oxygenated blood, deoxygenated blood, nothing is coming in. Airway completely blocked. When airway is completely blocked, the person is very close to grave. Because without that, the heart cannot function. And without that, there's no life. Just like CPR, right? When it's completely blocked, for real, this individual, you can see them holding their necks, right? For instance, in a restaurant or at home, when airway is blocked, they can't talk. They can't even verbalize nothing because there is no way they can open that mouth and talk. The only thing you will see tears coming out of their eyes, and they will be holding their neck. That is the only thing. And if you see that, you must act right away. Who knows what we need to do when we see a choking patient? Who knows what to do?
You still ask them, are they okay? And
No, they
tell
not.
them, no,
They can't
You know
talk.
that I'm holding my hand, water is running from my eyes, I can't even open. Even if you ask me if I'm okay, I won't be able to open, but you're wasting time. Okay? You have to do what?
Come to the, if the adult, you can put your hand on.
That's what she's
Why are you
looking
putting
for.
your hand?
I mean, you put your, if I can remember.
No, that's why
You have an
you
idea.
have to remember.
Then you come behind,
Okay.
like this, and come like this.
Oh, there you go. Then
Why
she
did
has
you
an
push?
idea.
I think with the belly button or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's it right there. That's it right there, the belly button. That is right there. That's what I want you to know. Because you're holding my tummy. You're not supposed to hold my tummy. You have to locate the belly button. That is the connection right there. You can. Some people do this and just be. You can do this till next year. The person will die. But you have to have a location. What am I targeting? Where am I going to touch and have effectiveness, right? The belly button is the key. I want you to come and we'll practice on it.
I don't like that part.
Okay.
I'm not the practice today, thank God.
First day class, right? She's choking now. I won't be asking her, are you okay, Miss Mary? Can you hear me? Come on now. I want to go to her back. You see my right leg? It depends on individual. Some people walk well with their left, but I walk well with my right. I'm going to put it in between her leg. In case if she falls. You know why I'm doing this? If she's falling, I'm going to make her fall on my leg. And then I will slide her. Her head will be on my body. I don't want her head on the floor neither. So you have to be controlling your movement. If you're doing with left, do the same thing. Make sure if she's falling, you bring her hand on top of this leg, right? I'm going to go this way. You see her belly button? See my hand? Lock it, right? You lock it on the belly button, you cross this one on top of this, right? And you're not going to just push her. You want to scoop in. That's the secret. If I just push you, I'm just going to push the belly. But I want to go in, like you know how you dip soup? You have to scoop up. We want to commit vomit. We want her to be induced to throw up. That's the key while we're doing that. Because the belly button is where the umbilical is connected, right? So we want to go to the belly button, cross this, and go in and scoop. If you do it once, it's not effective, go back, continue to do it until she will throw up. 2-3 times, you're going to force her to vomit. And when once she throw up, she's good to go. All you can do is put her in the chair and say, you're going to go. I'm sorry, okay? Take a deep breath. Don't give her nothing to drink now. Okay? You want her to be okay. That's it. Go ahead and sit down. Someone else, let's practice on that. Let's practice. Come on. Come on. Let's practice.
You have a question?
Are you coming to practice with me?
It's your turn today.
Okay, let's start falling back.
Where's she going?
You see? She's gonna fall and hit her head. And will fall. Yes. You have to control me with her leg. And then sit me. Do that. Okay? Control me with your leg. See? She will put me down. She herself will also be down. Okay? Let's go. Practice with each other. The belly button, locate it. Put one leg in between. Be in control. Fold this hand like this way and then cross this. Go in.
She's trying to fall.
Yeah. Yes, there we go. Practice makes perfect. That's how we're doing. She's trying to dodge it. Okay. All right. Did you find the belly button? Don't just cross that hand. And then use this one. And scoop up. Yep. Okay, let's practice.
All right.
Come, that one is for choking. Like somebody is choke,
And then I'll do like
can't
this.
breathe. We want to make sure
Like that, right?
Just in case.
When I put this hand on your belly button, you can hold this one and put my leg in between and then scoop. Oh, sorry.
You skipped real good, huh?
I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I forgot myself. Yeah.
Did you look at this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, you don't have to. Your hand will be here because you're choking.
He's scared.
Like this and then. There we go. Scoop. Yeah. Then that's it. We want to do it as many times as we can to make the person commit, right? Awesome. Well done, guys. Well done.
You know what I wanted to say before
Yes.
I said that you asked for permission first? I was in Columbia, South Carolina, and it was a gentleman that was choking, and I went to help him. His family refused, and I couldn't understand why, because I was black.
That's a different ballgame
Yes,
altogether.
I was black.
They have the right to refuse.
Yes.
But you do your part. You offer help, they don't want it, you can't force it. Do you understand? You cannot force it.
Yes.
But in this Texas, that is a very important question, very vital question, right? In Texas, because the individual might be an adult, right? You cannot listen to the family
Yep.
when it comes to life.
An adult.
I don't know about other states, but in Texas, they want you to initiate, as long as you are certified to do that. Initiate that, and we can talk with police and all that. Because the patient is not the one telling you don't touch it.
They don't have any
have
over
rights,
themselves.
just like confidentiality. Okay? In everywhere you go in hospitals, you just can, oh, Miss Jessie is my friend. Can I see her medical record? They'll be like, excuse me, what's your name? Are you in the contact list? We want to put the information. If you're not there, they can't release. Even if you are a doctor, they cannot release that. So Texas expects you to participate and do what you got to do. Unless that individual said, leave me alone. And somebody choking, can they tell you to leave them alone? No, so you have to do your job, right? All right. Okay. Let's talk about aspiration. Any question for choking? We're good? Okay. Let's talk about aspiration. When someone is aspirating, what are we looking at? Or what are the signs of aspiration? Let's put it that way. When someone is aspirating. Any idea? Let's share ideas. When someone is aspirating. Aspiration. Any idea is good. We just share our idea.
You're coughing.
Good. That's what I want to hear. Aspiration, you are still alive. That means it's not an emergency, right? The emergency word is ruled out. Aspiration, you're coughing. Probably you're drinking something. And unfortunately, you start talking to someone, you're aspirating. Yeah, okay, it's just that there's an obstruction. The water went through the wrong side. Doesn't mean that we'll have emergency. But if we don't treat it, it could lead to what? Emergency, right? Just like we said on seizure. If we don't end up having CPR on a seizure patient. So aspiration, you're coughing. Maybe you're talking, your saliva went to the wrong way, and that's aspiration. In that case, it's not an emergency, right? What do you guys think, or what do we do when we aspirate? Because all of us, one time in life, we have aspirated, right? Huh? You cough? You're coughing already. That's what they do back home, right? They hit you on the back. How about giving you more liquid?
They add more. Get some to drink.
For the person. Because you take drink. Trying to do, you know, like.
You know
It's
that
not-
technique?
yeah.
It helps. You know why it
like
works?
somebody was you
Because for little children, that's the way we control them. For aspiration. You do that, they will do that. What you're doing, you're locking up the air and opening up the breathing. Lock, open, and suppress that open way that is aspirating. That's why you're doing that. You do that for children, they will follow you up doing that. And it will help them. That was an excellent example. But when you are aspirating, you know, some people will say, drink more water, what's your problem? If it's children, drink the water. Drink the water. Right? Is
It
that
makes it worse.
good?
No.
Why not?
So you're gonna keep going
Oh,
oh, sorry.
Is that good? She's reading my mind. How is it gonna worsen it?
Because they're still struggling, it's not clear, then you're adding more.
Another example. How is it gonna worsen it?
You're gonna cause them to choke.
How is that adding fluid? Maybe you're drinking water and you start coughing, right? Aspirating, and you take more sip of water. What is the danger in that?
It will keep going to the wrong track.
That's what I'm looking for
Yeah.
right there.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I'm looking for. More like you're going on the highway, right? Your exit said exit 59, but you entered exit 69. And you turn back again because you're busy, your mind is thinking a lot of stuff. You still think you're still going to 69. You turn back, make a U-turn, and you still went to 69. Your destination will be very far, right? That's what is happening. And once you top it with water, it goes through the same wrong direction. There's an obstruction. That's why you're aspirating. So any other object added is still going to follow that pattern because that pattern has not been corrected.
So water cannot push it down.
It's not anything that is pushing up.
That's how we think that we.
Yes, this is the knowledge why we're here. So that after this class today, our mindset will begin to change. Right? We don't put water on top of the wrong exit because it's going to follow the same pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like a new way has been opened.
you end up choking. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Because that wrong airway is open already. Any fluid you're putting in is still following that way. So what you want to do in real life, which we don't practice, we practice the wrong ones and people die and damages happen. We don't know because nobody will come and tell us that it was because of what you think you did. Yes. And we'll get away with it. But in real life, what you want to do, start coughing for me. Can you hold your breath, please? It's a simple issue. It's not something for you to panic. It's a stop coughing. Don't choke. She will still be coughing. You say, hold your breath for me. Open your mouth. She will still be, do it 3-4 times, it will control the airway, it's going to shut it down. Medically, that's what we want to do. It's going to close that wrong way, and then you will take a deep breath. Oh my God, and then you choked, you know? Then you can drink water, and then it will go through the right esophagus. That's what we want, right?
So the correction is closing, man.
Yes, you have to, like you control a child, you have to tell an adult, I need you to hold your breath. Please try to hold your breath, and you're going to be forcing and be coughing, but keep on repeating it. Please don't cough, hold your breath. Hold your breath. It's not an emergency, it's a simple stuff. But don't add water to someone who is aspirating, right? Okay, any question? We're almost done. All right, no question, right? Let's talk about falls. On my flyer, you will see I said I'm going to discuss CPR, seizure, aspiration, choking, no falls, and then we'll do infection control. Quickly, just to run it through. Let's talk about falls. We're going to stand up to do falls. Every one of us will practice, okay? We're talking about somebody falling, someone is breaking their head. If we are like nurses or healthcare providers now, I will go in with the belt, we call it gear belt, to teach you, but basically we're learning for the house, for the church, and for everywhere. So the teaching will be more like touching base, right? Okay, we're talking about first. Pair to two. 2 to 1. 2. Your partner in crime, right? 2. Okay. All right. Okay, it's left for me and you will pair. Who's going first? We're doing first. Somebody's going to be walking, right? Okay, let me use you. Go this way. This individual is going to pretend that he's going to fall, but don't really fall, right? And I, watching him, I know his balance is not right. This is his right hand, right? We assume that everybody's strong side
is the right.
Isn't it? I'm not going to mess with his right side because he can grab me and then hurt me, right? I will keep myself on the left hand side. Okay? That's why I walk better with my right leg. You don't want to fight people or rescue them. Even when they're swimming or something, do their right. Because they have stronger grip on that side. So I'm going to be walking on this side. Let's say the patient is walking. Let's be walking. Mr. Jones, are you okay? Please don't fall. If he's falling, you do this. See that? Push him back. Okay? Do this and pull him on your side. Slide him down. That's what we want to do. If you do this, he can go this way on my neck. And both of us will be dangerous.
It's terrible.
Does it make sense? Yeah.
How many Mrs. Johns and Mr. Johns?
How many Mr. Johns? You know, you have Mrs. Johns. Look at this. Are you catching them?
I'm catching them.
Look at this one. It's like you want to fall. This is not a joke because if you don't control your procedure, you don't hold one hand. But this one, taking our action. But this one, you still have to be careful, but your leg is safe.
It's not even you're holding the waist, not the arm.
So this leg, okay, we go ahead. Yes. Put it there. If you walk well,
that's no.
You hold them by their waist and then bring them down.
You imagine they have a gate belt on. Because when you're walking with your patient on the hallway, they have gate belt on. So when they fall, that's what you used to pull them back. Yeah, not the gate belt. Yeah.
See, that's why I think this is my high hair.
This is your side of my right.
No, not there. The waist. Yep.
So this one only has that she can't go this way. But if I'm on this side, it's easy for her to
So in other words, you're thinking of something you have here.
If it's the healthcare, but you're not supposed to Your two hands will be on her.
Yeah.
But your strength to pull her is your left. Does it make sense? Somebody show us so she can learn. Yes, you pull her on your left, right? Because you don't want her to cross her hands over you.
She's gonna try to, yeah.
Okay, let's go again.
I love that. I love it. Are you okay? Any other question? Are we enjoying the class?
Yes. Thank you. In my 100 years in America, I've attended CPR classes. It's never been like this. No doubt.
Yay! That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear.
I've never attended a class like this.
Yeah.
Seriously. Even when I owned the daycare for 6 years. Yes, we used to bring instructors.
instructors, they used to be so boring.
First of all, they don't have something to work with.
Exactly.
It's not like this.
I'm so glad.
Yes.
I'm
No,
so
this
glad. And it's different between people doing it with a passion.
Thank you. The
And
other
that
person
is
is
no one
dying.
to
That
do it
is
just to
is
get
not.
money.
Yes.
If I was doing that, I would plug the video. You watch it.
Exactly. And that's what we used to do.
I have my videos, but I don't ever do that. My videos is once in a year. For all the students I've taught that have time, they will come in and watch the latest video, ask questions, and they need their answers. But for my fresh time students that I've never taught before, you must practice
Yes.
so that you will live with it.
Yes.
I taught her in school,
Wow.
and she can teach the class when I'm not here. That's how much I impart on CP, and it's very important that we do it right.
Yes.
So now we're going to talk about basic infection control, right? The casual one we do at home. I know most of us, there's no time that we will say we're right, we always go to the bathroom, we wash our hands 24 hours as we're doing it, or we cook, touch something that is soiled, then you wash hand again and sanitizer. We don't really follow the rules, but we want it to be practiced, right? As you cough at home, as you sneeze at home, anything that you're doing, practice makes perfect, right? Children in the house, we want them to be able to cover their mouths when they're coughing. They don't want to be in public. Immediately, that's fast, so fast. Imagine in the house, when we're just at home, and someone have pneumonia, you didn't even know any, and they keep on spreading the infection. On those that have TB, because TB is for real, we'll hear the diseases and we're like, oh my God forbid. It could happen to anybody. It's airborne. It could be in the bus. You just entering bus and somebody has TB. They didn't even know they have TB, but you're sitting next to them, and they come from there till 2 hours from you and the bus. You can imagine.
And you take it home.
Right? So we want people, if you know you have a little bit, any sign of cold or anything, always carry tissue along with you. When you're coughing, it doesn't hurt to do this. And cover it up. Have a plastic, like Ziploc or something, put it in, have your sanitizer, sanitize your hand. We shake people's hand every day. Some of them sneeze and they have TB. They won't tell you. Because you didn't see it in your hands. And you shake them. You finish shaking them, you stop by the gas station, you grab something to eat, you open it and you start eating. You understand? If you go to my car while we're here, you will see sanitizers in my car. We have to practice those things. Before you eat anything, make sure you wash your hands. Sanitizer kills some germs, but it doesn't kill it completely. Soap is the best way to kill germs. Right? But if you have sanitizer in your car, be aware of your surroundings all the time. See everybody infected. That's the way I see people. It's not a bad thing for me to think you have TB, or for you to think I have TB.
No, gosh, you don't have it.
It's infection control. That's the only way we can be safe in our environment. See everyone, even your mom, your husband, everybody is infected. Because you don't know what is going on in the system. Right? Always wash your hand. If you have opportunity to stop by anywhere to pee, thoroughly wash your hands. Get it as much out as possible before you continue your journey. And in the house, put sanitizers everywhere. Educate the kids to use it. If they play along all the time, some of them will think it's fun. Every minute they go. But tell them, have you washed your hand today? In my fridge, in my house, tell her, there's a sign on the fridge. You can't warm any food without covering it. If you do, I will touch the food. It's real stuff. Because the vents in the microwave transfer some dirt inside their food. So I wrote it on my fridge and I put a big sign. You must cover your food before you warm it. If by mistake you put it there and I happen to come to the kitchen, I will put it in the trash. I do it all the time. She work with me. Her food and trash is, hey, just you, my food. I said, my dear, it was not food. I'm sorry, it's your food. Even my other said, oh, dangerous, mommy.
It's terrible.
She took my food. I said, you did not cover it. The rules are there. And they don't cough quicker in front of people. We can't do that. You have to teach them. for your good, for their own good, and you'll be surprised they take it outside. They practice it outside. None of my kids will see someone on the floor without helping them because they've practiced it and they love doing it for fun. That's what we want to carry on to. Right?
He said that it's uncovered food, this one.
In the microwave, don't warm your food without covering it. You know the microwave have open vents, right? You don't know what is inside. It's electric that is working inside microwave. So learn to, even if it's paper towel, use it and cover your food and warm it. Learn to practice safe environment and wash your hands as many times as you can. Sanitizer is good, but if you have opportunity to see water and soap, always wash. Cover your mouth when you cough, right? If you cannot cover it, you can use your hand and cough inside the rod and go wash your hand. Right? And that will end our class today. Any questions? Any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
How do I obtain the CPR card?
You will fill your information. I'm going to email it to you, and you will pay her. Then Monday, today is Friday. By Monday, Tuesday, latest, it will be in your email. Okay. And you can print the hard copy or the big certificate, it's up to you. Okay. And the wallet size, everything is fine. We used to issue cards, but right now they said, no, everything have to go online. Because they want to track us. Normally we'll turn in the time sheet, we'll fax it to American Heart Association every time you teach class. But they said some people just give cards.
They don't teach.
Without practicing. And it's true. I've seen many students, you know, they will come and say, oh, we went online, I know how to do CPR. So yeah, you teach us. They have no clue. So American Heart Association said, submit them online because they want to also follow and be track of what they're doing. And it's scary because people who are giving cards without practice, very soon some instructors will be going to jail. That's what they're doing. It's a new law now, we're doing it online.
No, but they should go to jail.
You know, it's not good. I tell people, don't play with individuals' lives. A lot of people do it online, $25, $30, they get card, but you cannot practice CPR in real life. That is killing your own knowledge. It doesn't make it right.
How can somebody have a license on something I don't have a clue on?
A lot of people do when it comes to CPR.
So what is it gonna do?
Just go to put video.
That's it.
You fill it, they sign your card and give to you.
That's it. And the funnest part of it, my class is 6 things in one. Meaning, if it's seizure patient, if it's fall, if it's choking, you should be able to identify. Yeah? You should be able to know the differences, and that will make you more safer to practice. Right? Yeah. So, I appreciate everyone for coming out. And I know I was expecting a lot of people, but yet, it's the beginning of it all. We're going to go more places. We're going to achieve more things by you all helping us to advertise it. Tell your friends and all your friends. And I'm so glad I met you guys today. So,
when else do you think you can have this so that if every one of us here bring three or two people, we can have this?
No, once we finish now, I'm going to put you all in the group. I have a CPR group. Then you guys can invite me or tell me when you are available for us to schedule another class. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, that would be nice. So
yeah. We'll invite people. Knowledge is like,
by the time we have like 8
I think we'll push it like Saturdays. It's better. Yeah. Constantly Saturdays. Probably every Saturday I will teach class in location. Dallas is inviting me next month in a church. So people are beginning to wake up and know that this is real. You know how many people are dying heart attack? Yes. If every one of us in this church knows how to do CPR, we have gone many places already. Because you will tell your family, that knowledge is spreading. And when they have time, they come and join us. They don't have to have the card, but they can have the knowledge. Right? But the card, we advise you to have the card because you'll be able to practice. That's the difference. All right, now I'm going to bring, okay, go ahead. You want to, she have to compress, come.
She said.
She have to compress, you must compress. Now, do you know how to assess?
No.
You don't know how to assess. Okay, one of my students should teach her how to assess. Somebody come on. Teacher, when come here. Teach her how to assess the patient. Come on. Sister, lovely, come on. Okay. Yeah, sorry you came late, but next time we won't go back to class because the time was there, you know.
Yeah, so to assess a patient, you come, if you come and you see anybody laying down, you want to, time is very important, yeah, that's what you have to understand. Within 2 minutes, you need to have taken action.
Yes.
Because you know, if you waste time, that person can lose their life. So time is a very important lesson. So when you come, you see somebody laying down, the first thing they say you want to do it on the left side, you know. You want to jump and you tap them, Mr. John, I tap it hard. Are you okay? Are you okay? If they don't respond to you, you have your phone, take it out, dial 911. Call somebody, help. And you jump, start doing CPR. To do CPR, you want to do it on the sternum. The sternum is like on their breast, like in between the breast down here. Yeah. So put the hip of your hand, put this other side. Compress. They want to be close to them too, because you're compressing with your shoulders, not your back. You want to save yourself as well. So you do fast, deep, and hard, depending on the size of the skinny person like you. I don't want to go too deep. I'm gonna break your bone. But with somebody like me, you better do it hard. You know, you have to do it hard and faster. So you deliver.
We're talking about 2 inches in depth for somebody like us that have fat, right? People like you, we're going to go like 1.75. And we don't want to go to the maximum of 4. So for us, you can do 2 to 3 in depth because you're a little bit smaller than us. So you can go as hard as you can. But she can't do that to you. With you, it will be 1.75. Does it make sense? Okay.
So do it deep and faster too. Do 60. You have to count to do 60 compressions. And then lift their head up because you want to open their airway. And then for these who use the mask, if you have the mask, you put the mask, then you give them 2 breaths. 1, 2, then you continue CPR. But if you don't have this mask, you want to form a circle in your hand and leave a hole in the middle. Put your hand, give them 2 breaths. And continue.
Let's do that high five.
Wonderful.
You see what I'm talking about? She can teach the class right now because she actually did it live, right? If it was on TV, she would say, whatever, let me finish this TV. Some people put it on and they'll be cooking. You know, when they finish, they call their children, answer the question for them.
Give me the card, that's all I need.
I said, what? Answer the question, I'm done. You didn't take anything out of the class. But right now, it can never go off of any of you. It's built in. By the time you come back to renew your license in 2 years, I don't have to go through this. All I have to do is give you anything that is updated, and we'll run from there, right?
Are we allowed to come to any other place that we have it?
Yes, it's community fair.
Okay.
As much as you can go out and tell friends and come learn. Learn. I can't imagine how many CPR I have done as a nurse because I love it. Even when they didn't invite me on that place, I'm going. I want to be the one to do it. And you get so used to it that it comes automatically. Right?
Honestly, when I was a daycare provider, I didn't like it because it was so boring. We just watched the
video.
Yeah, or the instructor would sit down and put the thing and, you know. And now I think that was really dangerous because you wouldn't have been able to really do it.
They'll answer it. How am I going to answer it? You are the instructor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I do. Answer. Okay, you tell me the answer. I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. We'll have some and for you to evaluate me as your instructor, and she will read out some of the questions. What we have done already, and I will take it back. Yes, this is the name of it, but I'm going to read it. We're going to read it out and declare it. Do you need a pen?
No, I have one.
Okay.
I need a pen.
Okay. Right. Yes.
This is like a class set?
Yes, evaluation. You have to evaluate.
No, it's answer.
When we're done with that, Miss Fidela will come and read out the questions for us one after the other, and we'll choose our answers.
It's our information.
Yes. And then we'll turn it in. Then we can talk about our financial freedom if you have time. You sit with us for at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes. To be yourself financially and all that full package. And we will do that each time we have CPR class.
We wait for you to read the video.
I have the master. Thank everybody for coming out.
You're welcome.
That was sharp.
I know you enjoyed the class, right? For cleaning services, if you need our help to clean your house, please do not hesitate to call us. We'll go ahead and do the question and answer.
Okay.
Then we can stop the video while. Okay. Let us pay attention for the questions and answers.
It's just how many questions?
25.
25
We'll go fast.
Yeah. Number one, the question is, when should you initially ensure that the scene is safe? Your options are A, after I activate the emergency response system. B, after an AED attached to the victim delivers the shock. C, as emergency medical services arrive on the scene. D, when I first see a potential victim.
Let's go.
Yeah. When should you initially ensure that the scene is safe? One option? Yeah. Okay. A, after I activate the emergency response system. B, after an AED attached to the victim delivers the shock. C, as emergency medical services arrive on the scene. D, when I first see the patient. Okay. Number 2? Everybody good?
I didn't get number 1.
Okay, number 1. Give her answer
Oh, you
sheet.
don't have the answer sheet?
Read number 1 for her again.
Number 1 again is, when should you initially ensure that the scene is safe? Right? The options are after I activate the A, after I activate the emergency response system. B, after an AED attached to the victim delivers the shock. C, after emergency medical services arrive on the scene. D, when I first see the potential victim.
You're not supposed to be talking.
No, you answer it on
The
your
answer on your own.
Okay, so move on. Okay, number 2. Which victim requires CPR? That's the question. A victim who is unresponsive with no normal breathing and no pulse. B, a victim who is unresponsive but there is breathing adequately. C, a victim with a pulse who is having trouble breathing. D, a victim with a chest pain and indigestion. Okay, what victim requires CPR? Is it A, victim who is unresponsive with no normal breathing and no pulse? Or B, a victim who is unresponsive but is breathing, they're breathing? C, a victim with a pulse who is having trouble breathing? And D, a victim with a chest pain and indigestion. Okay, number 3. What is the best way to open the airway of an unresponsive victim with no suspected neck injury? Asking what is the best way to open the airway when you're giving CPR and the victim doesn't have a neck issue, and you know the victim doesn't have any neck injury. The options are: use the tongue lift finger sweep. B, use the head tilt chin lift. B, use the head tilt chin lift. C, use the head tilt only. D, use a mask. What is the best way to open the airway for an unresponsive victim with no suspected neck injury? A, use the tongue lift finger sweep. B, use the head tilt chin lift. C, use the head tilt only. D, use a mask. Number 4. What is the maximum amount of time you should take to check for a pulse? A, 25 seconds. B, 20 seconds. C, 15 seconds. And D, 10 seconds. Is everybody good? Good?
Okay.
Number 5. Which of the following services or techniques is not recommended for a single respirator to provide breath during CPR? Which one is not recommended? A, bag mask device. B, mouth to barrier device. C, mouth to mask technique. D, mouth to mouth technique. Which one is not recommended for you to do while giving CPR? A, bag mask device. B, mouth to barrier device. C, mouth to mask device. D, mouth to mouth device. Number 6. What is the recommended depth of chest compressions for an adult victim? How far should you go into the adult victim when you're giving the CPR? A, at least 1 inch. B, at least 2 inches. C, at least 3 inches. And D, at least 4 inches.
At least, right? Yes. It's not the same thing with the max. Mm-hmm. All right.
Number 7, what should you do when a child victim has a pulse of more than 60 per minute but is not breathing? A, give breath and chest compressions. B, give breath without chest compressions. C, give chest compressions without breath. And D, use the AED, child pad. What should you do with a child victim, little babies?
Can you repeat the options?
Okay. Let me read the question. What should you do when a child victim has a pulse of more than 60 per minute but is not breathing? They have a pulse but they're not breathing.
And more than 60 pulse, right? Mm-hmm. Children's pulse will want it to be above 100. So if they have more than 60, it's diminished, but it's not they're saying more. It's not 60 now, right? So it's more than that. It's positive for us when it comes to CPR. So that's good sign for us. Yeah. It's from 60, we want it above 100, but if it's more than 60, it's not danger. All right.
Okay, the options are give breath in chest compressions. B, give breath without chest compressions. C, give chest compressions without breaths. And D, use the AED with child pads.
We remember when to give the AED, right? Right? AED, the machine we're attached, right? We're giving it because it's gonna go in and give shock more than what we're pushing in, right? So I don't think we should be needing that when it makes sense, right? Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, number 8. What is the compression ventilation ratio for one respiratory adult CPR? Like, if there's one person doing the CPR, how many compressions? A, 5-to-1, B, 15-to-2, C, 20-to-2, and D, 30-to-2.
We know we don't have anything less than 30, 60, and 100. So anything below 30 is not acceptable, right?
For an adult.
Okay, for an adult.
What is the compression ventilation ratio for one respiratory adult CPR? A, 5-to-1, B, 15-to-2, C, 20-to-2, and D, 30-to-2.
Okay, go faster.
Number 9. Why is it important to compress to the appropriate depth during CPR? A, adequate depth of compression is needed to create blood flow during compressions. B, adequate depth of compression is needed to create airflow into the lungs and adequate oxygenation. C, adequate depth of compression is needed to prolong asystole. And D, adequate depth of chest compressions is needed to stimulate spontaneous respiration.
What are we expecting? What are we doing
Why
CPR
are we doing
in depth?
About,
We want blood flow, right? That's what we want, the blood flow.
Can you repeat the first and second option?
Adequate depth of compression is needed to create blood flow during compressions. B, adequate depth of compression is needed to create airflow into the lungs and adequate oxygenation. Number 10. What is the recommended rate for performing chest compressions for victims of all ages? All ages, infant, adult, everybody. A, at least 40 compressions per minute. B, at least 60 compressions per minute. C, at least 80 compressions per minute. D, at least 100 compressions per minute.
This is for adults?
For all
Everybody,
ages.
all victims. Adult, kids.
And we are talking about you alone now. She didn't say 2 people, remember? By yourself.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What is, the options? At least 40 compressions per minute. B, at least 60 compressions per minute. C, at least 80 compressions per minute. D, at least 100 compressions per minute.
At least, right? At least. The least that we can be allowed as individuals to compress, not the maximum. We know our list is from 60 to 100,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
A, at least 40 compressions per minute. B, at least 60 compressions per minute. C, at least 80 compressions per minute. And D, at least 100 compressions per minute. Number 11. Which of the following is recommended to minimize the risk of air entering the victim's stomach during bag mask ventilation? Which of the following is recommended to minimize the risk of air entering the victim's stomach, as gas, during bag mask ventilation? A, give breath as quickly as you can. B, give each breath over several seconds. C, give the largest breath that you can. D, give a breath just until you see the chest rise.
Okay, that one, let's do clarification, right? When you are giving that breath, we have a max, right, that you can use to press the air in. But because we have the mouthpiece, when you are giving the breath, you want to give as much inside. It's only 2 breaths that you're going to give, but you have to blow it. You hear that? Does it make sense? We don't want to do there's no effect. You have to go bringing that breath out of you, transferring it into the individual.
Okay. A, give breath as quickly as you can. B, give each breath over several seconds. C, give the largest breath that you can. D, give a breath just until you see the chest rise.
Does it make sense for us now? Okay. Any question? Okay, it's very clear.
Number 12, which of the following statements is true about using an AED for a child less than 8 years of age? A, adult pads must be used, but they should be cut in half before application. B, adult pads or dose may be used if pediatric pads attenuator are not available. C, only one adult pad should be used. D, infants may be used if pediatric pads are not available.
Okay, let us clarify that, right? Repeat that question now. Let's pay attention on the question so I can clarify that, okay?
Which of the following statements is true about using an AED for a child less than 8 years of age?
Right there. A child less than 8 years, right? We are giving this scenario if there's no infant pad, right? When there's no infant pad and you have only adults, we want you to trim it because of the maximum of dosage in it. You have to cut it because we have seen the small pad now. You know it's almost 2 of that to make up the adult, so you have to trim it out to cut down the dosage before you attach it. That's in emergency. You don't have your little pad, but it's for a little child. But you have the adult pad. Go ahead and trim it out and use it for the infant.
The options are A, adult pads may be used, but they should be cut in half before application. B, adult pads may be used if pediatric pads attenuator are not available. C, only one adult pad should be used. D, infant pads may be used if pediatric pads are not available.
It makes sense, huh? Okay.
Okay, number 13. What are the correct compression and ventilation rates for two people doing the CPR, for 2 respiratory CPR in the presence of an advanced airway in an adult victim? A, compress a rate of at least 100 per minute with 1 breath every 6 to 8 seconds. B, compress at a rate of at least 60 per minute with 1 breath every 6 to 8 seconds. C, compress at a rate of at least 100 per minute with 2 breaths every 5 to 10 seconds. D, compress at a rate of at least 60 per minute with 1 breath every 5 to 10 seconds.
Okay, let me clarify on that too. Compressing at 100 rate, we don't ever give 1 breath. So that answer can never be right. Our breath is always 2, right? So when you see 100, yes, we can do up to 100, but we're not giving breath only once. So that takes that answer out, right? And there's 2 people now. You can do 100 or 1 million, but you must give 2 breaths. So when you see that 100, it sounds good, but that 1 breath right there takes it out, right? The B said compress at the rate of at least 6 minutes, right? But 1 breath again is in there. We don't, nothing like 1 breath. We don't do 1 breath. So 60 is okay, 100 is okay, but 1 breath, that's not what we're gonna do. The C is saying you should compress 100 per minute, 2 breaths. And then the D is saying compress 60, still 1 breath. Is the answer clear? Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead.
14. During 2 respiratory CPR, 1 respirator provides chest compressions. What is the role of the second respirator? A, count compressions allowed. B, check for a pulse during compressions. C, do nothing until the first respirator needs a relief. D, maintain an open area and give breaths. You understand? Okay.
Okay.
Number 15. As soon as an AED becomes available, which of the following is the first step you should perform to operate the AED? A. Deliver 2 rescue breaths before using the AED. B. Complete 5 cycles of chest compressions. C. Place the AED pads on the chest. D. Turn on the AED. As soon as an AED, the machine becomes available, what is the first thing you should do? You want the options?
Yes.
Okay. A. Deliver 2 rescue breaths before using the AED. B. Complete 5 cycles of chest compressions. C. Place the AED pads on the chest. And D. Turn on the AED.
Are we good?
Okay. 16. Where should you place your hands to perform chest compressions on the adult? A. On the upper portion of the abdomen. B. In the center of the breastbone. C. On the lower half of the breastbone. D. On the upper half of the breastbone. 17. What should you do after the AED delivers a shock? A. Immediately check the carotid pulse for no more than 10 seconds. B. Immediately restart CPR, beginning with chest compressions. C. Wait for the AED to reanalyze the rhythm. D. Provide 2 breaths to the victim. What should you do after the AED delivers a shock?
You all remember when the AED delivers shock, right?
And what does it tell you?
What does it tell us?
Yeah.
The AED is in charge, it's not us now, right? Okay. Read the answers.
The options are A. Immediately check the carotid pulse for no more than 10 seconds. B. Immediately restart CPR, beginning with chest compressions. C. Wait for the AED to reanalyze the victim. Or D. Provide 2 breaths to the victim. 18. If a victim of foreign body airways becomes unresponsive, after you send someone to activate the emergency response alarm, what is the next recommended action? A. Call the victim's doctor. B. Perform abdominal thrusts. C. Perform blind finger sweeps. D. Start CPR, beginning with compressions.
The question is asking when this person becomes unresponsive. When someone is unresponsive, our action now from choking or aspiration have deviated. We are going to take a different route now because they are unresponsive. Right? Okay.
The options are A. Call the victim's doctor. B. Perform abdominal thrusts. C. Perform blind finger sweeps. And D. Start CPR, beginning with compression.
There we go.
That's after you send somebody to call for help after the call. 19. What is the compression ventilation ratio for 2 respiratory adult CPR? Child CPR, sorry.
A child.
What is the compression ventilation ratio for 2 respiratory child CPR? And 2 people doing the CPR for the child. What is the ratio? How many compressions do they go for each? A. 5-to-1. B. 15-to-2. C. 20-to-2. D. 30-to-2. 20. What should you do when administering breath by using a bag mask device for a child who is not breathing but has a pulse? They're not breathing but they have a pulse. So A, for a child. A, give breath at a rate of 1 breath every 3 to 5 seconds. B, position the child on his or her stomach. C, squeeze the bag as often as possible. Or D, avoid performing a head tilt. What should you do when administering breath by using a bag mask device for a child who is not breathing but there is pulse? A, give breath at a rate of 1 breath every 3 to 5 seconds. B, position the child on his or her stomach. C, squeeze the bag as often as possible. Or D, avoid performing a head tilt.
Okay, we'll do clarification on that. Look at the question again. Read it one more time. Very serious and straightforward.
What should you do when administering breast by using a bag mask device for a child who is not breathing but has pulse?
Okay, we are not talking about CPR on that. It's two different things, right? This child here, we are using bag mask, right? I did not cover that. The child, we need to give breath, but there is pause, right? Look at option B, leave A out. Option B said position the child on his or her stomach. Does that make sense to us? There's no need for all that. There's pause. The child is not unresponsive. He has pause or she has pause, but we want to give breath, right? The number 2 said you should position them on their stomach. We cannot do anything like that. Look at C. Squeeze the bag as often as possible. Is it something you want to do? The bag, you keep squeezing it as often as possible. It doesn't make sense, right? And look at the D. Said avoid performing head tint. Head tint is the opening of the airway. Would you avoid that? If you avoid that, how are you helping the child? So that left us with option 1. He said give breath at a rate of 1 breath every 3 to 5 seconds. Does it make sense? Okay.
Okay, 21. What is the recommended depth of compressions for an infant victim? A, at least 1 point, the depth of the chest approximately 1 inch. B, at least 1.5 inches. C, 2 inches. D, 3 inches for a child.
It's clear, right?
What is the depth?
Okay, it's clear. The depth.
The question,
Okay.
what is the recommended depth of compressions for an infant
fat.
victim?
The babies.
A, at least 1 inch. B, at least 1.5 inches. C, at least 2 inches. Or